Thank you and welcome. Today is Thursday, February 19th, 2026. It is 3 p.m. We are at 19 Parnell Street, Greater Madawaska's Town Hall. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the council meeting of the Township of Greater Madawaska calls to order the February 16, 2026 regular council meeting at 3 p.m.
You moved by Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Popke. All in favor? That is passed, so carried. Thank you. Please stand for O Canada. Please be seated. As we gather in chambers, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of council and our community that we are meeting on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We'd also like to thank all generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Thank you, Miigwech. Move on to 4.1, approval of the agenda. Resolution, please.
That the agenda of the council meeting of February 19th, 2026 be approved as presented.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Levesque, second by Councillor Thompson. You've all had a chance to review. Is there any changes or deletions that are required? Call the question. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you. Approval of minutes 5.1. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the following minutes are approved by council. January 15th, 2026 regular council, February 12th, 2026 public meeting.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Thompson. You've had a chance to review. Call the question. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you. Moving on to 5.2, accepted minutes. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the following minutes are accepted by council. December 2nd, 2025 Recreation and Culture Committee.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Levesque, second by Councillor Popke. You've had chance to review it. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? I see none. Mayor's report, short and sweet. Attended 10 meetings on behalf of the township. I would like to extremely thank the township and all who came out for our winter carnival event. It was fabulous. Culmination of it on Saturday with the pancake breakfast and all the events through the day, right up to the spaghetti dinner. And I didn't stay for the dance, but everybody said it was pretty good too. So I'd like to thank the community for taking the time out. And that concludes my mayor's report for today. We'll move on to 8.1, the Canada Day Committee. Councillor Tripp, information, please.
Thank you. I too will be very brief. In today's agenda, we'll be looking at bringing in or considering a new member to the committee. We had one step down. This new individual will be filling that spot, and we have two other individuals who are interested and will be coming forward in the coming weeks. Meetings have started. The work plan from traditional years is still underway. This is not a hectic time of year. The early planning will start to pick up in a couple of months. And our next meeting is on the February the 24th. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns, comments, discussion items from council? There are none seen. We'll move now on to information item 8.2, the library board. Councillor Thompson.
Hi, mine will be short as well. We're doing the books now, the auditor, and that's keeping, people busy. But there was one report that we have radon testing kits, and this is new this year. They've proven to be very popular, and there's actually a waiting list for it. And a few years ago, a private citizen went with a program where they tested, and we had one of them at our house. So they used them to test, and they found out that this area has a high amount of radon because of all of the rock. So become a library member, and you can borrow radon kits, plus all the other things. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns, discussion items from council? I have one. What would I do with a radon kit?
Good question. You test to see what your radon levels are, and if they are high levels, there are mitigation measures you could do, and the reason is that it can cause lung cancer in non-smokers, actually in smokers too. Oh. I think it used to be that so many people smoked that they didn't know the difference, that they didn't test for radon because they didn't know that was causing lung cancer. So this is it's not terribly new, but it's something everybody in this township should do. And mitigation measures can just be like getting a fresh air pipe and making sure your air circulation is good, because the radon gas tends to settle in the lowest levels. So if you can get it out of the basement, then you should be good. And don't smoke.
All right, well, thank you. Yeah, it's tough to follow that one up, but we'll go with 8.3, Recreation and Culture Committee.
Wow. Okay, again, back to the Winter Carnival. So the Recreation and Culture Committee participated in leading the trivia night. So thank you to all the volunteers and those involved and those who participated. I don't know who the winners were, but I think I saw you guys were on the internet. Yeah, the three of you. So you were there.
We finished a close second.
Did you?
Yes,
Okay.
3 points behind.
Good. Congratulations. The travel and tourism booklets are being developed along with the assistance from the township, and so it'll be published, I'm not sure exactly when, but also it'll be published through the STRs in the region as well to make them available for our visitors. So it contains all kinds of information about the area, what's involved, what's available, and all those good things. And then we are working toward the summer event schedule, so more to come on that. That's about all I have to report.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Councillor Popke.
First of all, thanks for everything. I just want to take this moment to address that on Saturday, I don't know if this is the right place, but on Saturday at the Dacker Center, the Renfrew Trappers Association is hosting I guess their second annual Trappers Convention with live demonstrations and different arts and crafts and fairs set up. So anybody listening, if you want to go out, it's part of heritage and it's quite the day. A lot of fun.
Perfect. Any other questions, comments, concerns? No.
I could, but I'm not going to.
Thank you, Councillor Levesque. Your silence is deafening. Thank you. I will now quickly move on to 8.4, South Ottawa Valley OPP Detachment Board. Councillor Tripp.
Moving very quickly. So just an update, the funding has gone out to municipalities. I spoke earlier about the budget and the surplus moving forward, so that material has started to bubble its way through. There was a meeting of the mayors recently to talk about the pay structure on the budget. It was done between the mayors of the seven.
Councillor Tripp, just interrupt for 1 minute. Is this was separate from the detachment board meetings, correct?
Separate, but it's going into the work plan of next steps with the board. Okay. So the meeting was held. They've asked for a second meeting, and what the board will be doing is hosting an open meeting in next month. The notice will come out shortly. And we'll be inviting representatives of the ministry to come in, and it'll be an opportunity, all mayors will be invited as well as members of council to come The board will walk through the funding and the modeling, and the ministry will be there to answer questions, hopefully to help us move forward. But that should be coming out within the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to 9.1, delegation presentation. Mr. Edwin Hoffman, short-term accommodations licensing fines. Mr. Hoffman, if you would like to get the microphone, turn it on, please.
So do I just introduce myself? Is that
Yes,
how this
yep.
works?
And
Yes,
then-
my name's Ed Hoffman. Normally I talk in public about my trade, but it's not the case. So yeah, I guess my acknowledgement is just regarding the short-term application. I'm not here to argue the fact or the responsibility of my behalf on it. It's more so that the set fines, I was just looking for if there's any way. I've been fined at 300 and an original 400. My place is a seasonal rental. So when I was back and forth with some of the individuals in the room, I believe on an email, I don't recall, but yeah, so it was in question that my place was only rented out for 3 months during that time, and I wasn't straightforward knowing that all of the rules that follow the short-term rental application. So I have no problem submitting and going forward, proceeding with the short-term rental application. It's just that when it first came out, I wasn't aware of like all the proximities and severities of the fines and everything going forward with it. So I took it off of the rental platform, but that being said, how it's on the rental platform, how it's structured is there's no opportunity for anybody to instantly book it. So basically it's a question that it has to come through me first, and before I can just invite anybody in there. So again, I realized that there's a bylaw put in place that was regulatory in the last year, I believe it was. I'm not familiar with all the details on when it was put together. But that being said, this is why I'm here. I'm not asking for a reduction or a reduce. I'm asking more for a reduction, reduce fine. I'm not asking for it to be totally off the table. Like I realize like I'm in the wrong by doing something by not following the bylaws, but at the same time, I don't rent it out during the winter months at all. I work a provincial trade, so I service the whole province of Ontario. So a lot of times I'm not home. So sometimes like mail or stuff like this doesn't get an opportunity to catch up to me as quickly as I'd like it to be. And that was the means of communication in this situation. So that's why I'm here today. I'm here today just to ask if there is any, I don't know, I guess it would be any action forward that can be for either reduce it or something like that along those lines. I don't know how that works. I've never been in this situation before. Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm here.
Okay.
So that's my plea. That's it. Is that how it goes? I'm not too sure. I have a couple minutes just to go over it. That's
Yep.
how it's structured. Yeah.
Any questions from council? Councillor Levesque.
Thanks for coming in and telling us the background to the story. Just a couple of questions for you. So when you first were decided to do your short-term accommodation, you were aware of the bylaw and what it included and the fines, potential fines as a result of non-compliance. Is that right?
So I wasn't aware of the fines. I wasn't aware of the full outline of it. Like I didn't realize that if it's your primary for one, or two, if you're renting it out for a short period of windows. I didn't know if there was like a seasonal, like such as like, for an example, I guess your snowmobile trail pass. Like, I don't know if it was like a 2-3 month window, and then there's the different ones. And the only reason why I'm going off of this is just because of like what I've seen in the area of like what's available for renting and stuff like that. So I was definitely aware that there was some bylaws put in place. I'm not saying that. I didn't realize the structure of the fines behind it. I didn't realize that what was put into play for all of the aspects of it for the most part. So, but obviously I've educated myself on it. My first time noticing the letter coming in was close to the end of November of last year. And that was saying that I'll be fined an additional bylaw if it was not come to pay for that original $300. But again, my place, I don't rent it during the winter months for the reasons, but it was still active. Yes, it was still active, 100% it was active, but no one could rent it. So I don't know if that pleads the case. I get the point that there's no, I don't know how familiar everybody is with short-term application, but you can't just, in that situation, you can't just instantly book. Some places you can instantly book, and no matter what, you're going there for sure. So everything was a screening process before anybody could come in, so.
And the second question, so you were informed about each fine
I was in, yeah, definitely the mail, it came in the mail. Like I said, I didn't realize, because again, I work across the whole province of Ontario. That's my trade. So there's times that pocket where I'm working 45, 50 days straight, depending on the severity of the shutdown, so on and so forth. So when I got back, it was, I think, close to the end of November when I seen the one, and then December, shortly after that, there was a secondary fine. And then that's when I reached out to the township to be like, hey, is there anything that can be done here? I realized again that I didn't follow the bylaws. I'm not saying I didn't. I do respect the bylaws. I'm just asking for, like I said, a reduction in that situation.
And just one last question, and maybe a question for Renee, but how did you receive the notice about the fine?
Yeah, it was in the mail.
The physical mail, not via email?
Correct, mail. Yeah, physical mail.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions from council? No. So you, how long has your place been up on as a short-term accommodation, like prior to the bylaw coming into, like how long have you been renting it out?
Less than, I don't know, definitely less than a year, or like, let's say maybe a 15-month window. So just over a year.
Okay, so right about the same time the short-term accommodations bylaw came into effect.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not familiar when it came into effect, but I know it's not that old, so.
So you received a warning letter first?
Yeah, so the first letter I received that I physically opened was the one that was stating, like I said, I've been fined $300 and I'll be fined again. So that was my first one. Again, just due to the severity of my work, that sometimes my mail piles up. I mean, that's just the reality of it, like, you know.
So we're so this went May and July, and then August, November.
So my place would have been listed, yeah, for sure.
Okay. And then you took your place off of Verbo in November, and Airbnb was taken down in December. So this is some 4 or 5 months after you've received your second notice, second infraction.
So I received the one, like I said, in November, and then I took them down shortly after that.
Yeah, November 29th, you took it down, and December 22nd. So that's several months after.
The first initial one?
Yeah, then that you knew that you needed to be licensed, correct?
Yeah, I was relating it to last year, but if it was the year before that.
All righty. And are you going through the licensing process now?
I'm not doing anything now, so I mean, I don't rent it out during the winter months. I never have. Again, it's only been listed for like maybe 12 to 15 months period. If that, and out of that, it's probably been a 7-month window where it's actually been available for rent. Will I go forward with an STA? Yeah, it's kind of my thought process for sure. If I was to keep the property, the other thing that strikes me on it is to possibly sell and move. I'm not too sure. So, but if I do, yeah, my plan is not to go against the bylaw. That was never my intention to begin with. I may seem that way because I obviously have a fine and infraction, and I get that like I said, I wasn't due diligent to be responsible and be part of it right away and nip it at the beginning of this. So that's why I'm here today. Like, you know what I mean? So if there's anything that can be done, I appreciate it. I get that the bylaw has to be put in place for a reason, and I respect that. It's a great township that we're a part of. But if I am to go forward with having a short-term rental, 100%, I'd be a part of it. Like, and I've talked with the team here. Again, I'm sorry I don't have my computer open to see exactly what I was talking to, but there was a very good response to ask if I needed any help with anything. So it wasn't like there was no pathway forward with the committee helping me out that's on this board here. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have a recommendation before the table today on this? No. Okay, well, we'll thank you for your information.
Yeah.
And take it into consideration, and we will loop back with you.
Cool. So my only question would be, is there like a time frame for it? Because there is, like, I got a bill for it, and then there's an interest compounded. So I'm just, would there be, or if there's no interest being compounded, I'm cool with it. I just need to know which action.
I'll defer it to our CAO for
At
quick
this
comment.
time, staff has not recommended to waive the fees. So if you're looking for next steps, you have to direct staff to proceed with something council would like to proceed.
Okay. Does council have any recommendations. I'll tell you personally, I'm of the opinion that due to the time delay between the first notifications and infractions and the time that you took it down, that I'm not inclined myself to waive the fines. If there's a member of council that would like to put a recommendation forward, we can put it on the table. But at this time, for my personally, looking at the timelines, the time frame, the infractions, and then when it was eventually taken down, I think that the fines are in place for a reason, that we need to follow those bylaws. So I'm open for anyone else on council for a recommendation. Councillor Levesque.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I do agree with that. And that's the reason why I asked how you got notified, when you got notified, because there was ample time for you to determine what happened and what to do about it. One thing I did not ask is what happened after the first fine notification was. Did you contact the township right after that? What did you actually do when you received the first notice?
The first notice I received, like I said, was already, I believe there was numerous notices sent prior to that. I didn't receive, it was all accumulation of receiving them all at the same time. So I've got opened the mail coming home after being away for work for some time, and like that's where it was. It was already been fined at 300, and I was told that I'd get fined again. So that's why, like, again, I'm not going against the bylaw by any means. I'm obviously here to plead the case because everybody in this room can attest to one thing: life is busy, and I'm not arguing that no one's busier than anybody else. That's not the point of this today. The point of today is if there's anything that can be done about it. That's all it is. So.
Okay, thank you. And the second part to that is the precedent that this sets. So if we,
And I realize that.
if we shift away from what we're trying to do here,
Yeah.
then somebody else could come up and. So
For sure, and I get that point behind it, and again, that's why I'm here to plead my case, and I respect the decision either way, which way it goes.
Yeah.
If I'm just asking for and again, if timeline is going to be 2 days, 3 days, that's fine with me. I would just like to have a box of the time frame so I can look at, it's $718, I believe, at this point. Again, it's not a lot of money, but at the same time, it's a lot up front when you have everything else tied into it. So if there's not a reduce that will not be for the action, then it can at least be a timeline period to pay it back where it's not sudden right now. Because obviously with property tax, everything else that's upcoming, that's all. That's why I'm here, I'm not here or anything else. I'm here to work with it, and if there's nothing that can be done, then I respect that as well.
So if the fine is going to retain the way it is right now, can we put that against the current tax?
It already is.
It is already,
Yeah.
but is it coming in as one thing or something that can be paid over?
It was tied to the current, I just got my tax bill for the property, it was tied to the tax bill.
How it would be is the taxes are owing as of March 31st or the end of March, and then the remaining would stay there accumulating interest until it's paid back.
Anything further, Councillor Levesque?
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing, if there's a way that we can put a plan in place to have it paid over a monthly, to distribute the load between, or keep it the way it is and just expect it to be paid.
Well, I guess my question is so I guess it's tied in, we talked about the taxes, so if I was to pay my taxes, then so at the 700, like you mentioned there, would just continue to compound interest, correct? And is there any way around that, or is that part of that's part of it, yes. So can there be any remissions to that, or no? I guess not.
I don't think so with the admin side of it, no.
No.
Councillor Tripp, you have your hand on the button?
I support the philosophy that Councillor Levesque has, that in terms of the timeline, it's unfortunate work and got busy and it backed up. But the reality was there was a notice sent out. There was a second notice. So at a township position, we followed process and procedure and policy, and I'm nervous of stepping out of that for precedent setting. I would be open to a conversation with council about the 718, paying the tax bill and maybe an opportunity to split the rest into 3 payments, but interest would still be applied as we do in all other situations like this, where we But I do still think that the 718 should stand, my personal position. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
I think the weird part is we have to assume that when we send a letter to the address where there's your home address, that it is received. So it's unfortunate, but I don't know if you might have come into difficulties like this before. Like, what if you didn't get your tax bill?
Yeah, and I've came into difficulties. Like I've called the township. I don't know if anybody's been here, but I've been part of this township for over 6 years now, and it's happened because, I mean, if I was to say to anybody in this room who knows what a Boilermaker is, that's my trade, provincial trade. So I work in the power sector right across, I can work anywhere from Kapuskasing to Thunder Bay, and sometimes when the power is out and we need it to go back on, I'm there for 30, 50, 60 days.
And there's no one that can pick up your mail?
Not all the time, no, that's not always the case. So it's been deferred before to my parents' house and stuff like that, but also the case may be is, people are not typically not opening my mail, for that reason, right? So, but I listen, I get it. I'm here to plead the case for that. Like I said, I was looking for any kind of reduction or reduce. I get the point that you have a committee here and you don't want to set a precedence for going forward for the short-term application, and I get all that. While I'm here today, it's just to plead the case. If I didn't say anything and just sat on the bleachers, I realized, yeah, I got notices and I got everything that's going forward, but this is why I'm here. This is exactly why it's here. And I respect the decision either way. I'm just trying to get educated so I know going forward what I can do, whether I apply for the short-term application, whether I sell, whether I continue to, that's all it is. Because sometimes the education portion is the most powerful knowledge. And sometimes when it comes across the paper or reading into a short-term application process, there's a lot of questions that come along with it. And those questions are sometimes hard to answer because I don't have a committee in this every day to sit in front of, right? And it's the first time I've been exposed to the short-term application, to be honest with you. And so I didn't have fully understanding of how it worked, how it was structured. Is it seasonal, non-seasonal, how the fines exactly work? So again, part of my reason why I'm here is to educate myself at the same time, right? So this is it.
Thank you. I appreciate that you're saying that you may not have a full understanding of the short-term accommodation. However, I would like to say that in reading it and what our staff has put out, it is quite clear that it is an annual. It's not a seasonal. It's not like your snowmobile pass, as you said. It's a seasonal thing. This is an annual. So if you wish to go forward with it, is there any other comments from council at this time? Anyone else? Councillor Tripp.
Is it possible to make a decision at this meeting? Because otherwise, if we defer, it's another month out. And I don't think that's fair.
Council would need to put a recommendation on the table. If there's no motion, then it closes the file.
Is there any?
So it closes the file means.
And I want to be clear that in the payment plan, it wouldn't change anything for Mr. Hoffman, because currently it's on the taxes and he could payment as part of a payment plan. His request is for you to waive the interest on that payment plan. So the deadline, there's no deadline for it, sits on taxes until paid.
So I guess I have a question to follow up with that. So if I was to apply for the short-term application and not having the set fine paid already, is that, because that would work in my favor, obviously. And what I mean by my favor is I wouldn't be able to submit a short-term application, right, without paying the fine first.
The fine's been already transferred to your taxes, so it's
So it's
owing
been
on
paid,
that side,
essentially.
essentially,
I
on
gotcha.
a short-term accommodation.
So you can still make application for the short-term accommodation.
Yeah, I get that, yeah.
Yeah. So is there any other questions from council at this time? I don't think that, I think to give you a clear and timeline and consent, I think the consensus around the table is that I think we're going to, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I think we're going to keep this as status quo as it is right now.
Yeah.
It's a situation that's presented itself to you, and I'm sure that it'll never present itself to you again. But at this time, I think that it's going to remain status quo, and I'm just looking at consensus around the table, and I believe that is correct.
All
So
right.
thank you for your time today.
Cool. Thank you, everybody.
You take care.
Ciao.
If you can just use, if you just exit right here, you use that one? Yeah, that's perfect, thank you. We will now move on to Public Works. 10.1, the bylaw 082026, control traffic and parking. I would just ask, Jenna, if you could just make sure that that mic's been turned off. Okay, thank you. And I will ask for the resolution, please.
That council approve bylaw 08-2026 being a bylaw to regulate and control traffic and parking, and that council repeal bylaws 49-2020, 70-2020, and 19-2021.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Popke. And background, please. Steve?
So the township staff have performed a review of the current parking bylaw amendments, which regulates, controls traffic and parking to ensure it remains current and enforceable and aligned with applicable legislation and operational needs. In discussions, the bylaw staff is recommending to coincide two amending bylaws to additions of item 11C regarding pushing snow or depositing snow onto the roadways. So no person shall push, blow, shovel, place, or deposit snow, ice, or slush from private property onto any municipal roadway, street, highway, sidewalk, shoulder, boulevard, or snowplow turnaround. For greater certainty, this section applies whether snow, ice, or slush is deposited manually or by mechanical means. Snow being pushed across or onto roadways within the township continues to be a concern. The Highway Traffic Act prohibits depositing snow on the roadway, and this has been communicated through newsletter, social media, and direct outreach for several years. Despite all the ongoing education, forums, and practice, adding these provisions to the bylaw will provide ability to issue fines supporting the improved compliance with the road safety. So this just gives bylaw more, they've been going out already and warning people. You know, most people, they get told once, they kind of quit doing it, but we have some people doing it and redoing it, and there's people phoning in and they're like driving into snowbanks out in the middle of roadways where it's not, and then when our trucks get there, it's froze. They can't even push it off far enough. And like we've had to physically take a machine out to push the snow off the roadways in places. Like it's getting out of hand. And all bylaw can do, because it's not in our bylaw, is go out there and warn them. And it's not helping anymore.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Councillor Levesque.
Thank you, Steve. I agree. I think that's a good idea. And in fact, that was my one question. If it's already in the Highway Traffic Act, is that not good enough? And obviously it's not. When if we approve, will we be able to put that in the communication that we already put out saying this is now covered under bylaw, whatever, with the actual posted fine?
Yeah, because we already have a post for pushing snow across. We've been running for years, but I'm sure we can add a
right. Is there also an opportunity, given it's a relatively small community, and probably the answer is no, but there's a number of snowplow operators, but it could be done by private people as well from their ATVs and whatnot.
Yeah,
too,
and
right?
like they're not going to go out and just start finding everyone, but the bylaw has told me that they had a civic address that they put into a ticket already, it's in there. So if they get calls back, they just put that address in, it comes right back up and says, okay, this is like the third time or fourth time I've been here. It's probably going to be a fine this time. It's not going to be, but yeah, the first few times they come out and they'll warn. And
yeah, thank you. That's reasonable. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Councillor Popke.
I just want to clarify, this includes people, like you say, pushing snow across a township road, even though they get it well off the road and clean it up after?
It's hard. You can't pick and choose who's going to do it and who can't. And we have lots that just push it across and leave a snowbank that's 1.5 feet high and just drive away, and it's left. And we've already plowed the road now, and we ain't back for 3 days. And that's where if it's one person, it's got to be everybody. And
No, I just wanted to double check, because I know a lot of instances where you're talking.
yeah.
Any other questions from council? Okay, I have one, and I don't, it'll be question for council and our CAO and pretty well everyone in the room. The fine right now is $50?
30,
That's 30.
and then it goes to 50 if it ain't paid, I forget now.
Yeah, sorry, I
Timeline.
thought it was 30, yeah, okay, so it's 30, then it goes to 50 on the second offense. Is that large enough for somebody to actually pay attention?
It has worked for parking.
Yeah, but I'm also like, when they're putting snow out in the middle of the road, it's not the same as parking. They're risking somebody's life, putting it out in the middle of the road and if it freezes up. So maybe at some point we need to revisit that set fine. Not today, but it's just a comment for going down the road, say. That's intended pun. But let's keep that on the back burners to look at it another time, because it's not part of this recommendation today, but I think we need to review that. Is there any other questions, comments from council? No, does anybody need the recommendation reread? No, I'll call the question, all in favor? That is unanimous, so carried, thank you. We'll now move on to planning and development, 11.1 bylaw 10-2026, acquisition and assumption of lands as public highway, Lower Spruce Hedge Road. Resolution, please.
That council approves bylaw 10/2026 for the acquisition assumption as a public highway, a portion of Lower Spruce Hedge Road designated as Part 2 inclusive on reference plan 49R21064.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Popke, second by Councillor Thompson. Background, please.
Thank you. So this bylaw here today is seeking council's approval to acquire and assume as a public highway a portion of Lower Spruce Hedge Road, which we've identified as Part 2 on reference plan 21064. So the lands in question total approximately 5.81 acres, and it represents a full 20-meter wide corridor centered on the existing traveled road where it crosses through 811 Lower Spruce Hedge Road. So in this case, it's not a condition of consent. The current property owners have completed a survey of this portion of the roadway, and they've requested that the township assume ownership of this portion. Typically, this type of request is relatively common as it's often undertaken to clearly define the roadway as a natural boundary, which also assists the property owners in obtaining a natural severance. So it provides a benefit to the township by ensuring that we as the township get full ownership of the roadway, with the survey work being completed at no cost to the township. Lower Spruce Head Road is an existing municipally maintained year-round road. However, portions of this road have remained privately owned on private property where we don't have title. So this assumption would help formalize that ownership of that section of the road, which we are already maintaining. And as usual, all costs associated with this application are all borne by the applicant, which includes the registration of the bylaw and the transfer of the lands, et cetera.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, discussion items from council? I'll call the question, all in favor? That is unanimous, so carried, thank you. We will now move on to 11.2, bylaw 11-2026, zoning amendment, William Seaman, Bayview Campground. Resolution, please.
That council approve bylaw 11/2026 to rezone the property municipally known as 19 Siemens Lane from tourism commercial to rural in order to permit residential uses only and to amend the existing tourism commercial exception 3 zone to incorporate the expanded severed lands, recognized 2 additional existing trailer sites associated with 58 Siemens Lane, and acknowledge the existing location of certain trailer sites which do not meet the current setback requirements.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Levesque. Background, please, Kristen.
Thank you. So this zoning bylaw amendment is seeking council's approval to rezone the property known as 19 Siemens Lane from tourist commercial to rural to permit only residential uses, and then to amend the existing tourist commercial exception 3 zone, which is the zone that affects 58 Siemens Lane, which is known as the Bayview Campground. The amendment will incorporate the lands that are subject to the recent lot addition and would also recognize the 2 existing trailer sites currently located on 19 Siemens Lane that will now be added to 58 Siemens Lane, and then further acknowledge the location of certain trailer sites that aren't currently meeting required setbacks. The application is associated with the consent file for a lot addition. So we're taking 1.37 acres from 19 Siemens Lane, and we are adding it on to 58 Siemens Lane. So the zoning amendment is assuring that the land use designation will currently reflect the post-severance configuration of the property, and it will maintain the legal status of what is existing currently as well. The applicants did provide a hydrogeological assessment, which confirmed that the existing private water and private services in terms of septic are adequate to support the existing development with no significant environmental impacts. The proposal is considered consistent with the Planning Act, Provincial Planning Statement, and the County of Renfrew Official Plan, as it does recognize long-established, already existing uses and supports rural tourism-related development. All notice requirements have been met. We did not receive any formal written comments. We did receive some verbal comments, I believe, at the public meeting last week, but they were more geared towards the future development of the property, which unfortunately we cannot answer. That is for the owner and future owners to determine, but ultimately we are just approving right now what is existing, and the amendment reflects that. So if the property owner wished to expand the lands to say from 15 trailers to 16 trailers, those property owners would have to come back to the township either for another zoning amendment and likely required further studies to support servicing. So there is a requirement there for them to come back to us if that's needed. But ultimately, the other concerns, I think, were more so related to noise and such, but that would be something that would be addressed through bylaw enforcement. So ultimately, that said, we are recommending approval of the zoning bylaw amendment.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns, discussion items from council? There are none seen. Call the question. All in favor? That is unanimous. So carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to 11.3, bylaw 12-2026, zoning amendment, Crawley Stones Lake Spa. Resolution, please.
That council acknowledge receipt of this report related to the zoning bylaw amendment 11728 Lanark Road, Stones Lake Resort and Spa, and that council approved bylaw 12-2026, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 28-2024 from rural to tourist commercial exception 22 holding, as the proposed amendment is consistent with the provincial planning statement, conforms to the County of Renfrew official plan, and represents good planning subject to the holding provision applied to the lands.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Levesque. And the background, please. I believe, Ashley, you are doing this for us?
Yeah, thank you so much.
And we can hear you. Thank you.
Great, glad to hear. So through you, Mayor, tonight the consideration of the bylaw for the zoning bylaw amendment application for 11728 Lanark Road is on your table. I would like to begin by sincerely thanking everyone, council staff, and the residents, the applicant. The participation was great. The public meeting went well. Those who were in person joined virtually or submitted written comments. Every comment that came in was 100% taken very seriously and formed part of the recommendation that we saw, or that you're seeing today. The concerns raised were thoughtful, they were detailed, and they were grounded in lived experience. And that is, it's a fantastic way to take the information, bring it in, and have it assessed from a planning perspective, and write the report that you have in front of you. So again, just assuring everyone that those comments have been taken very seriously. So the proposal before council is to rezone a portion of the lands from rural to tourist commercial exception 22, as was previously mentioned, with the holding provision, while retaining the environmental protection areas unchanged. The draft bylaw before you does include that holding provision and additional conditions that were intended to address the core themes that were raised by the public and staff and the peer reviewers. So from a professional standpoint, professional planning standpoint, the recommendation here is, as was previously stated, is to approve the application with the holding provision as drafted in place. So before we kind of open this up for conversation and questions, I'm sure there will be some, what approval does and does not mean, I figured this is probably a good thing to jump into. So again, with the holding provisions, it becomes a little bit unclear on what they're capable of doing should the application be approved. So it's extremely important to clarify what the decision tonight means and represents. So approval of this zoning amendment does not mean development can begin tomorrow. It does not authorize construction. It does not authorize building permits. The holding provision prevents any development from proceeding until council is satisfied that all required technical studies have been completed and peer reviewed. So before the holding provision can be lifted. Again, I just want to read these out to make sure it's very clear. This is, again, the recommendation coming to you. The applicant must complete a detailed hydrogeological study, including groundwater and lake impact verification, finalize a comprehensive site servicing study, including wastewater treatment and MECP approval, demonstrate the water servicing will not adversely affect adjacent wells or Stones Lake, both in terms of quality and quantity, address all peer review comments to the municipal satisfaction, and there are still some that are outstanding from the environmental impact statement that need to get looked at, resolve the fire department concerns regarding water supply and suppression capacity, prepare a noise study, including potential Class 4 designation if required, and bringing forward a site plan control application with finalized building placement, grading, drainage, buffers, parking, landscaping, and mitigation measures. So all of these materials have to be completed and peer reviewed at the applicant's expense with no financial impact to the municipality before it comes back to you. In staff's opinion, science will guide the outcome. So if the studies do not demonstrate feasibility, the holding will not be lifted. It won't come back. On scale and intensity, I know this one was a big one that came up during the public meeting, and I thought it was worthwhile to mention. There has been concerns about this. It is important to note that the zoning does not prematurely guarantee a specific number of units. The servicing studies will determine what is sustainable. So if the site, even though the dream is to have 150 units, if the site can't support it based off the studies, they're not going to be able to proceed with 150 units. So if environmental or servicing constraints require reduction, that is going to occur at the detailed design stage. And also in terms of growth or expansion, because that also came up, so if let's say they have a list of permitted uses that they're capable of doing, they come to us and say they want to go ahead and expand. Further studies are going to be absolutely required, regardless of the zone, as an amendment to the site plan control agreement is going to be necessary. Additionally, there's other zoning controls that remain in place, including lot coverage limits, setbacks and shoreline buffers, parking requirements, environmental protection zones and 30-meter buffers along those environmental protection zones, and natural topography and constrained lands. So all of that restricts where development can happen. In other words, the development envelope is shaped by both the regulation and the environmental constraints. So once we get to the point where the application were to come back, because all of those holding provisions are removed, the site plan control agreement will highlight where all those buildings are located. Any deviations from that does trigger a site plan control agreement amendment and further studies to be sure that servicing capacity is there, hydrogeological evaluations are there. It doesn't mean it's a blank slate and a free-for-all. There are further, limits on what they can do in the future. So in terms of the planning frameworks, I did have a couple of questions on this. When it comes to the recommendations made tonight, staff must consider and determine whether the proposal has regard to the matters of provincial interest, whether it's consistent with the provincial planning statement, and conforms to the County of Renfrew official plan. So there was a planning consistency document that came to you at the public meeting, and we looked at where we're consistent and where we're not consistent. For the sake of this, it was consistent in principle based off of these studies that still need to take place. So based on the analysis that was done in the planning report and subject to the holding provisions and conditions, in my opinion, the proposal does meet those tests. supporting the rezoning in principle while reserving final implementation control through the holding and site plan processes is a defensible and structured approach to managing risk. So in terms of what decisions are available to you tonight, council has 3 options. You can approve the bylaw that's being presented to you tonight with the holding provisions and outline conditions, as I've just stated. You can refuse the application, which in order to eliminate the appeal would require clear planning grounds tied to policy plans. And we'll just sort of touch on that a little bit. Council has every right to say, no, we don't want this. But then if the application is appealed, what the OLT is going to be looking at is that planning merit. So do you have planning merit to say no? And then the third option is to defer the application, which again would require some specific direction regarding what additional information is required prior to bringing that bylaw back for consideration. So again, if deferral is considered, it should be tied to defined information gaps or additional conditions council believes are necessary to properly evaluate the application within the Planning Act framework. So I know this is a lot of information and I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any, but in summary, the recommendation before you supports rezoning in principle while embedding strong technical safeguards through the holding provisions. This approach allows the planning policy question to be addressed now, requires scientific and engineering confirmation before development proceeds, maintains council's control over timing and implementation, and protects public health, safety, and environmental integrity through layered review. So I'll leave it there. And by all means, if there are any questions or concerns that you'd like to discuss, I'm happy to have those that chat.
Thank you, Ashley. I will now open it up to council. Oh, no questions. Just a second. Councillor Thompson, I think you lead us off here. Thank you.
I think that was very well done. It's interesting that the planners and council receive every single letter that was sent, and we read them all. So your summary, we're very aware that there are many repeated concerns, but everyone is being heard, and I really liked how you explained the process to everyone. And one thing else that some people brought up was dark skies with the light from that, and council and staff are working on we're developing our dark sky bylaw. So that's just one other thing that came up.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns for anyone else? Councillor Levesque.
Thank you, Ashley. Great report. Lots of information, and I know everybody's been plowing through all of the comments and feedback that's been coming into to the township and council. So again, thanks very much to everybody who's supplied all the feedback. As we move toward a vote, I would certainly, in what I'm planning to do is to request a deference to allow time to study and discuss specifically with 2 motions. And I'm not sure if this is an appropriate place to bring that up. I'll ask. Or do we want to wait till the actual vote in order to bring forward something?
Are you looking to put a recommendation on the table, a motion on the table?
Correct.
And you can do your motion, and then we'd have to deal with that motion first. And we would go through that motion and then come back to our recommendation. Is that correct, clerk?
On the process, I believe you would want to work through the recommendation that's currently on the table.
Yeah, but I'm saying if Jeff puts a motion forward, we would need to deal with that motion first, correct? And then come back to our.
We haven't heard comments.
No,
Yes.
I know, but that's what I'm saying, but that's what I'm asking.
You would want him,
Yeah. If Jeff puts a motion forward right now on the table, then we would have to deal with that motion first and then come back to this recommendation. So what I'm suggesting is that we hold off the motions till we have a fulsome discussion, if that's all right with you. But
That's what I'm just asking is where do we want that?
But I wanted to make it clear that you are allowed to put a motion forward, but we'd have to deal with that first. Yeah. Okay?
So beyond that.
Jeff, do you have supplemental?
No, that's just,
okay.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
I would actually like to ask Jeff, if you have concerns about new studies or as Ashley was saying, if you have concerns that we don't have enough information, that would be a reason for a deferral. Discuss those now, so we'll know what your concerns are.
Well, they'll be put in the motion.
I don't know, I think it'd be better to
Well, I mean,
know what your reasons are and discuss that. How can I make a decision?
What I believe Councillor Thompson is trying to do is have the conversation regarding the concerns and then bring the motion forward if you would like to.
okay.
It's, I'll go to Councillor Tripp right now, get his comments.
Thank you. So Ashley, thank you again for your summary. It was extremely helpful. This is a fairly large issue, and I do agree with Councillor Levesque in terms of the motion or consideration of a motion to defer for more information. I was encouraged with the consistency of all of the points that we heard. They do fall into a group, so it's very manageable, I think, when we get into that discussion. Clearly, what I've taken from both those four and those in support of this, even support, they still came down to those key policy questions and key environmental questions. So I think there's an appetite to unpack that, get more information, and thus the deferral would give us that opportunity. The other thing that I've seen in a lot of the comments is an opportunity again to engage the community. The consultation was very well done. The comments I heard is if there's a in this process, even moving forward down the road to keep the community more engaged in this as it develops and as the other studies come in, to share the information. I think the comms is a significant part of that as we move forward. And a suggestion that future meetings be held after hours to allow those who are either seasonal to attend or those who are working to attend. But I do think there is a need here for more information. It's a huge project. It's come to us very quickly. And having that time to unpack some of this, I think, would be helpful in the long term to see this project continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Popke.
So thank you, Ashley, and I'd like to thank everybody who wrote in or spoke concerns last week at the public meeting. I share many of those concerns, but at this time I feel that we're sort of at a stalemate or a standstill. Without further testing and knowledge, we're not going to get anywhere. I believe that we have to allow, by making this to the tourism commercial zone, will allow further testing to happen. And without that further testing, we're worrying about a bunch of stuff that might never happen. And I think that's the best way to go, is to, like I say, get the zone in place to allow this testing, because like as Ashley just said, it might not allow the magnitude of this scale of a project to happen. It could be half the size, it could be a quarter the size. We're never going to know until they do this elaborate testing on site.
Thank you. Before we go back to Councillor Levesque, I just, okay, supplement, yeah.
Just a question for Ashley. So in the case, so everybody understands, can the testing resume or be refined with the current zoning that's in front of us? Not the change.
Sorry, so can the,
In other words, do we have to conclude and refine the studies without approving this bylaw?
no, stop, I'm sorry, I'm still confused. So the bylaw, if you do not proceed with passing the bylaw, the idea here is that the bylaw needs to get passed for the applicants to have some sort of reassurance that, you know, we agree with this change in principle in order for them to start dedicating the funds necessary in order to move this forward. So if we don't agree with it in principle, they have the ability to appeal that decision to the OLT. And if they decide not to appeal to the OLT, then it would essentially kibosh the entire application. We wouldn't see anything happen on this property. So the options at their end would be appeal, and because they have good planning grounds, or completely eliminate the development as a whole.
Okay.
Councillor Poppy, supplemental?
So let's say in theory this goes through to the commercial designation, and the applicant does the testing and whatnot, but it comes out that they're not able to go ahead with the resort. The scale or the results are negative.
Yep.
So now he has this commercial zone property. Will it always remain as a commercial zone property with the holding, though it was specifically for that resort, or will it revert back to rural or commercial or whatever?
So the property would stay tourist commercial holding until there's another application to amend it back. So the holding provision would stay there. So it might, essentially, if it came back where they couldn't do anything, I would imagine that the property owner would reply to put it back to what it was before in order to allow some sort of development to take place on the land. My guess is that they probably will get a positive result to move forward with something. And at that point, that's when he would come back to have the holding provision removed at a scaled down approach with the site plan control agreement.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Councillor Tripp?
So the deferral then is really stopping the process completely, correct? Okay.
Yeah, I put that on hold.
So the other option in terms of moving forward with the holding is giving the assurance that the development is still subject to meeting all these conditions that we received from the community stakeholders that were concerned. So we would be able to have answers to or science-based answers to the elements that cause concern, and if they're not met, the project doesn't, if they're not met scientifically, the project doesn't go forward. So we're not looking today at supporting or voting to start the build. We are just looking at giving the tools to the people that are developing it to start addressing some of the concerns that were raised within the community members.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clear.
I would like to, yeah, if I could speak it, okay. I was giving you. So what we are doing, one of the things I want to bring up too is this approval today, if we go ahead with it, does not authorize construction. It's the holding provisions ensure that the development cannot proceed until the specific technical tests are done and the requirements are completed to the satisfaction of the township and other bodies such as the Ministry of Natural Resources. It's also because of the environmental protection zone, there's other, so the holdings that we put on this zoning is basically I'm thinking of euchre when I say trump card, being careful using the word, so it's our trump card to ensure that the people who are looking at building the spa meet all the specifications that have to be done, and also that they meet them, and for their investors to look at them and say, okay, now you have zoning approval to be looked at. Okay, now we might throw a bit of money in towards you because it's a prospect that we could possibly move forward. There's no guarantees by us changing the zoning of this property that this spa will ever be built. However, what we are doing with the holdings is ensuring that if it is built, that it's done in a safe manner and environmentally. Now, quite possibly, we may want to throw something else into the holding, like such as I'm going to throw it out there, but it's usually through county that would do it, let's say our traffic count or something like that. But I don't see how that zoning bylaw, the rezoning, I don't see how we tie the traffic into it yet, because we can't do a traffic study because we don't know what this property is going to be able to hold. It may come down to it's allowed 30 cabins, where right now we're looking at 150 plus 30 cabins. So for us to say in a holding we need to do a traffic study, it's very hard for us to do that when we don't know what the capacity of the resort itself will be in the end. So I just want to make it clear to everybody that this decision today is not set in gold that the spa will be built or not built. what this is doing today is allowing the owners of that property to prospectively build a spa if all of the conditions are met. And what it allows them to do is go to their investors and say, hey, we now have the zoning for it. We need to move forward with all these tests, and this is what it's going to cost us. So I just wanted to make it clear to the public that this vote today does not say that there's going to be construction. And the holding symbols that we put in place, if the property is never built on, those holding symbols are still kept in place until somebody else decides to do something about it. So, and then they have to apply for buildings, rezoning and building. So we're not tied to any construction. We're not tied to any cost to the township. We're basically putting it back, the onus back on the owners to say, hey, come and prove to us that this is possible. And the only way we can do that is change the zoning and hold them to these, the holdings. So anyways, that's my 2 cents, and I just wanted to get it out there saying that this is not a check mark to say you can construct something. This is a check mark to say you can see if it's possible to construct something. So that's my 2 cents worth in, and I believe if there's no comments on what I've just said, I'll open it back up to the floor, and Councillor Levesque, I believe that you would like to address something. Or Councillor Thompson first.
Yeah, I would just like to say that what we're doing now is agreeing that this falls within the law. This falls within the provincial guidelines and the county guidelines, that this is the kind of use that can be done. And what the holding symbol does is what you're kind of asking for. Let's hold off on the decision until we get more tests. So this is what we're doing here, is saying, okay, in principle, it fits all the, follows all the rules as recommended by our planning department. But these are very real concerns that have to be looked at. So this allows that deferral till we get more tests. And it gives the builder confidence. We don't want to be wrapped up in the Ontario Land Tribunal over every development that comes here. We'll be known as a township where you don't want to develop. So that's what I'm saying. You are getting your deferral in a way.
I'm sorry, just before you speak, I just want to confirm, we're on day 84 of our 90-day compliance, correct? And that is not working days, that's calendar days. So we are, so we would have to, if we defer something, we are going to have to ask staff to come back by next Tuesday with changes. And I don't know how we could put that on staff, but anyways, I wanted to confirm with you, Ashley, is it calendar days or working days?
It is calendar days, and we are past the 84 was last week, so we're actually past the 90 days now. So again, just to let you know what that means from a risk and liability perspective is you're outside of the time frame to make your decision. So the applicant now has the authority to go straight to OLT for a decision. So they would appeal it because you didn't make a decision. I don't think that is their intent. They want to work with you and try to resolve this matter. So yeah, just so you understand the risk associated with the 90 days.
Thank you. Councillor Tripp before Councillor Levesque.
Thank you. So
Sorry,
if,
Jeff.
do you want to go first, Jeff? Okay. So thank you. So we're past the 90 days. If we do make the decision to defer, that then gives them the ability to go straight to OLT and ask OLT to make a decision.
That's correct.
That's clear. Thank you. And then second part to that is my perceptions changed through the discussion and through the information we've had from you. So thank you in terms of the clarity that this is not a decision to go ahead and start the construction. This is to really allow them to go forth and come up with clear scientific answers to all of the key concerns raised by council, but also more importantly, by our community members.
You are absolutely dead on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Last one is Councillor Levesque. until he speaks, and then maybe somebody has comment.
Thank you all. So given what we've heard, what I would ask, and this is the question on the table, there's two pieces to this. One is specific to the application itself, and whether or not it regards as a motion or not, or whether it's something to be added as conditions to the existing conditions under the current amendment. And what I would, the items that I would ask to be conditions, and I'll read them out, and you can determine whether this requires a motion. Well, I guess it would, because the amendment would change if that's the case. So the conditions that I'd be looking for, namely, are in parallel with all the other work that's happening, the studies and whatnot, for us to open a discussion with the consultant as to whether a smaller scale proposal can be considered. So in other words, prior to any decisions of studies coming back, determining whether it can or cannot be accommodated with the current scope, or whether or not a preemptive conversation can occur to determine if the scope could be reduced. Secondly, a full understanding of what the township liabilities by approving this application would be. And that goes across anything that the township would be or could be liable for. So that could be under anything post-construction. So that could be fire safety, environmental damage due to the fact that we've approved this and something happens down the road, failure of any septic systems local to them that may leach into the lake and cause some sort of permanent damage, whatever liabilities we think that we would incur as a result of this project and what that would mean in our response to that. So in effect, it's a report from somebody, legal and or environmental, to determine what our liabilities are and what our mitigating factors would be. Thirdly, a report on whether additional conditions can be added, such as a traffic impact, which we know it could be. The question is when. And whether a public presentation on how the sewer and water processing system would work. So again, that would be bearing on the size and the scope of the project. So because their system may change depending on how big this thing is. And also, what implications are there for Greater Madawaska if we were to impose those additional conditions? The second part of this, and this is definitely a motion, it's somewhat related, but it's outside the scope specifically of this, that staff prepare a report on a proposed changes for the notification bylaw that could be implemented in order to improve the notification of residents when large-scale proposals are proposed, specifically because we are a rural township. And we know that sometimes the scope is not, the scope of the notification isn't what residents are expecting, although we know that it does meet the existing requirements of any provincial standards. And that would be for any reviews of costs associated with implementing the system to post any or all planning applications and associate studies online. So in essence, how do we become more transparent? What are the costs to that, and what would that look like?
I'll just quickly on your the second part there is the notification and reporting. I think that is separate from this today, so I think we should do that as a new motion for another meeting, so that we can pull the scope of that in. And the first part was the smaller scale. I think they've already addressed that because they've already reduced from 200 to 150. So I think that's.
We don't know how that occurred.
They changed the numbers.
They brought it forward.
Yeah, we don't know.
We didn't have a discussion on having to.
It's not we are not in the business. We're not in the spa business. If they come to us and say we need 200 rooms, and then their tests say that no, you can only support 150 or 50, that's a business decision that they're making. It's not they shouldn't have to come to us to say why they said they wanted it smaller. They should just be able to come to us with their request and then have the discussion. So I don't think that we can, we're stepping government into private business at that point, I think. That's my opinion. And I think with the township liabilities, from a zoning change, I don't think we've ever addressed a zoning change as what our liabilities would be. Like we just did Seaman and Williams zoning bylaw. We didn't ask, what are our liabilities there? Well, I know it's a much smaller scale, but I'm just trying to say it's a zoning, it's a zoning.
One that we did discuss early on in our tenure was the changes at the peaks for their zone, for their new 400 unit addition. And so in that case, we did talk about liabilities to the township. So I just want to put that on the table.
That was because of their existing water and sewage systems, yeah.
I'm just saying, we have discussed it in the past. Yeah. Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, so on those scales, it's more like a developmental agreement when somebody's putting a development forward. At this time, we're looking at a zoning amendment to do studies and review. We have, so when you're speaking to water, septic, and liability, this, if you want to use a comparison, is the peaks, where when we went through the process and they were able to prove that they could, provide their own water and septic, we went through legal at that time. And that went through council to approve that agreement to allow them to do that. So that happened at that time, not necessarily at the zoning amendment piece, because we don't know what that picture looks like yet. So those components happen there. And then in discussion, the traffic impact study mostly on county roads, the county also has indicated that they will be having those conversations when they receive a development application. They will not consider this at this point. So there's, I guess what Ashley is trying to explain is that there's so many, not only are the holdings that are being put on this property there, but there's also all sorts of other requirements as part of different applications that will be required to happen after the zoning amendment and after these studies are done. So I feel like a lot of the concerns are being brought, the ones that apply to the zoning amendment are being brought to this recommendation. And then the other components are actually, it's not that they're not being considered, it's that they're actually considered throughout a different part of the process.
Okay, can I ask a question in response to that?
Certainly.
At what point do we get reassurances of the studies, of the concerns around safety, all of the things that have been brought forward? How does that get to us between now and the next zoning prior to any construction? Or is it at that time?
Ashley.
Yeah, sure. So the holding provision will come back to council. So council has to remove that holding provision. It's not something within staff's purview to do. So the statutory process is that I would bring you the report similar to what we're doing tonight. You would take a look at the information in front of you, assess whether or not you feel like it met the conditional requirements and whether the proposed development is, essentially checking the boxes to be sure it's right. And then make a decision to essentially a bylaw amendment to remove that holding provision and then allow for development to take place. What was I going to say? The other piece of this that I want to make sure is emphasized is this isn't just a matter of them bringing the studies to us and saying, here you go, it's all done, it's ready to go. We actually get them peer reviewed as well. So we have people that we hire on our end to make sure that the public interest is maintained and protected. So there's 2 engineers looking at everything. And I've been part of peer review processes. You'll have that second set of eyes that says, hey, I'm not sure about this. Can we get further into the weeds and make sure? So you're really getting, by the time you get to the end, if we get to the end, it'll be, I's dotted, T's crossed, from an engineering, environmentalists, all of the qualified professionals, and making that recommendation to you. And I won't make a recommendation to lift and hold that provision unless I'm confident in all of the professional qualifications that have, come in and said it's okay. I stand to lose my designation and my ethical part of who I am if I were to do that to you. So I am bound by professional recommendations. That's part of my institute. So there's lots of checks that kind of go into this, and I get it's scary because it's so big. But yeah, the checks are there through the process, in my opinion.
So just in response to that, so thank you for that. So that covers the engineering and the environmentals and all that. But what about the impact to the township and the potential impact? So what are our guarantees and reassurances about, and what can we ask for regarding things like failure of their system, for instance, and who may become liable as a result of that, just as an example. And the fire safety, which people have brought up many times, is that not our responsibility to ask those questions? And that, I don't believe that is part of the rezoning, correct?
It's part of the studies.
It is?
Yeah, and MECP is involved in the approval of the sewage. So sewage specifically and water, taking water out, that requires MECP approval. You've got the provincial ministries involved there as well. In terms of fire, I mean, we wouldn't allow development to take place if it wasn't built to a certain standard. And as long as we make sure that we've done the proper studies, shown the due diligence, it's followed the OBC, we had the right people, the engineers, look at create the building and us have signed off on the building, we can't be more protected than that, in my opinion. And that's what the court is going to look at.
Thank you.
And just on that, there's the one question that's been brought up numerous times is our ability to fight a fire that's taller than whatever, right? So that's the question. And it's not that I know there's sprinkler systems and the requirements of building requirements. I get that. But it's just really, how do we respond to public concerns that we won't have to purchase a $400,000 ladder truck, as an example, therefore impacting taxes? No, 2 million, whatever. Yeah. I'm just throwing numbers out.
Yeah, I think what we have to rely on is our chief building officer, plus our chief of the fire department, who will be reviewing all the drawings. They'll see if there's a standpipe there. They'll see if there's, if it's above a certain floor, what type of fire retardant system we need. I think we have a good set of professionals who are professionally trained that we're going to have to rely on, plus the engineers that will be putting their signature on these documents. They're not going to jeopardize their careers by not putting the appropriate safety measures in. So I think that's down the line, is we'll get those types of reports back from our professionals. I think for the changing of the zoning, I don't think that ties into that at this point. It's further down the line, once they can discuss what they can actually put on the property, if anything. And then when they get their design phase, that's when our CBO comes involved and our fire chief. But I don't think that ties quite into our zoning, and I'm getting the notice that our CAO would like to say something.
I want to clarify for the fire requirements, the holding does include a requirement for fire department, the fire chief, to actually approve the requirements and what they could fulfill. So at that point, the fire chief will identify equipment that would be required to proceed. This is what the process allows for. So the holding provision covers basically that requirement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'll go to Councillor Levesque to see, do you have a recommendation or a motion that you wish to put on the table at this time, or?
Given the discussions, the first part of that motion would be no, and the second part would be handled separately later.
Okay, thank you. So we will now, if there's no other comments, we'll call for the vote for the, do we need the resolution reread? I don't think so. I think everybody knows what we're here for. So we'll call the vote. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you all for the discussion and the professionalism within the discussion. Thank you. Just give me a sec to catch my computer up here. Ashley, are you still there? Thank you.
I'm here.
I just wanted to say thank you before you.
Yeah, no problem. It was a big file, and honestly, the feedback was great. And yeah, it's fun to be part of the process.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll now move on to 12.1, Finance and Administration Department. Rural Ontario Development, ROD, Grant Application, Destination Marketing, and Visitor Outreach Platform. Resolution, please.
That council support the township's application to the Rural Ontario Development Program, Community Development Stream, under Economic Diversification and Competitiveness for the implementation of a township-wide digital tourism and business discovery platform.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Popke, second by Councillor Tripp. And we're going to Jenna for this.
Okay, so the background on this, Ontario's Rural Ontario Development Program, formerly the RED program, provides cost-sharing funding to support rural economic growth and community competitiveness by funding projects that address barriers to economic development, better position rural communities to attract or retain investment, strengthen tourism and business promotion, among other items. The township has successfully used provincial rural economic development funding to advance a staged approach to tourism and economic development. Phase 1 was 2023 to 2024, completion of a joint marketing strategy and implementation plan, including the branding and logo development. Phase 2 was 2024 to 2025, fabrication and installation of township-wide wayfinding signage to enhance visitor navigation. This application represents Phase 3 of the township's staged tourism investment strategy, building on the prior RED funding branding. And this grant is being applied for an illustrated map of the township, as well as a digital marketing destination platform or a mobile application for the township as well, which further enhances communication and helps to build on our tourism initiatives and basically everything we've been working towards in the past couple of years.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from council? Councillor Thompson.
I've seen these apps. They're, you go to various places. Arnprior has one, and it's really quite effective. This is an aside. As well as that, I think we should encourage tourism operators, a lot of them have it already, businesses, to make sure they're on Google Maps, because that's another tool most people do when they're going through a town, restaurants near me or whatever, trails near me. So I love it. It's a good initiative. And if that could somehow be included in this push for being out there electronically, that'd be great.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? None. Call the question. All in favor? That is unanimous. So carried. Thank you. Well, watch it on the replay then. Yeah, kind of a little bit. 12 point. I did this a couple times, but you didn't see me. 12.2, 2026 Canada Day Committee Member Resolution, please.
That council appoint Denise Lavallée to the 2026 Canada Day Committee to fill the vacant position.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Thompson. Is there any discussion items on this? I don't think so.
It was just, Councillor Tripp did it as part of his summary, essentially. So I think the information is out for council's consideration.
Perfect. Thank you. Call the question. All in favor? That is unanimous. So carried. Thank you. Welcome, Denise. 12.3, request for payment plan for development charges associated with building permit update resolution, please.
That council received this report as information and acknowledged that the time to pay agreement contemplated following the January 15, 2026 closed session was not executed and did not come into effect, as the total amount owing has been paid in full.
Hold on a second here. Well, I did get a mover for this, did I?
This is to receive the report?
Can we get a mover and a seconder?
No, I need a mover and a seconder for this one. That's what I was questioning myself, whether I did get a mover and seconder. Councillor Tripp and Councillor Popke for second. Okay, now.
So this is just an update to council, as we had already a motion on the table or a resolution on the table entering into the payment. We wanted to ensure that, because it was setting precedence a bit, that we didn't need to proceed with the payment plan. It was paid in full.
So we're all in favor of receiving that information, I guess. Okay. All in favor?
I don't think we have to do that.
No, that's why I don't. I think for this, because it was a resolution already that we went through for the deferred payments, and now that has been closed.
We're pulling the
closing
resolution.
it. So,
And we're okay with that.
and we're okay with it being closed and paid in full.
Okay. Unanimous.
Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, all good. That is approved, carried. Thank you. Wow. Now I will move on to 12.4, council remuneration for 2026 to 2030 term. Resolution, please.
That council select option, there's a space there as the preferred council compensation structure for the 2026 to 2030 term, and that council direct staff to return to council with the necessary bylaw to implement council's decision.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Popke, second. Councillor Levick. Background, please.
So before every term, council has the opportunity to review remuneration, compensation, benefits provided to council for the next term. So what we've have completed, so it's normally led by staff, as in doing the review, bringing it back to council for consideration. So it's in council's hands. So what we've done is a benchmarking review of council remunerations across the county and comparable municipalities. So this best practice review considered everything down from benefits, honorarium, the remuneration, to kind of compare. Everybody's kind of slightly different, as we could tell when you go across the county or even the province. So what we have here is, to begin, is the remuneration portion. So as you can see attached, we're comparing the neighboring municipalities and kind of where we sit. We've always kind of sat within the middle, comparable municipalities. So the recommendation this time is to proceed with a slight increase to the mayor's remuneration and councillor remuneration to set us back in line with comparing municipalities with similar type of workload. Keep in mind, a lot of the municipalities are underway with their review. Therefore, most of these values at this time are in their 2025 prior review. So there's still movement on that end also. And you can see that throughout up to the election. But that would put us kind of a more of within that, within the pay remuneration within county or comparable municipalities. Other than that, we haven't touched the other benefits. So we have council expenses, a reimbursement for conferences and professional development. The mileage is still at CRA rate. And then we have mobile communication provisions for the mayor and reimbursement for council members. So that would remain the same. So in this, we're recommending a kind of an increase to get us the salary within a more in the middle of the benchmarking comparators. The other option that's being brought forward is the option for benefits. So what we have right now is this councillors do not have health benefits. So in this case, what we're proposing is the option for benefits aligning with township staff. So it's similar to that, where 75% is paid by the township and 25% paid by the employee, so essentially the council member. We've put the values there for council consideration to see what that looks like. In reviewing municipalities, the greater part of the municipalities do offer it to their council members. We do also comparing to, our part-time staff are eligible for benefits also. So generally speaking, it's not just for full-time. But this has been provided just as an option for consideration when comparing to municipalities. That was probably the most significant difference when it came to that remuneration piece. There is a bit of a benefit when it comes to adding benefits, where you have self-employed individuals or working age where they don't have benefits. There's an opportunity. So there's an attraction piece there, right? The attraction to council. So this is up for consideration for council. So what we have on your options for council consideration today is to approve both the amended remuneration and the introduction of a group health and dental benefits for council members in the next term, or just approving the proposed remuneration and and no change to benefits. Option C is maintain the current remuneration rates and approve benefits. And the final option is to remain status quo and make no changes.
Thank you. Guess we open this up to discussion. Council, I'm losing my brain today, people. I had a mover on this already. Yes, and we went to background. Good. Okay, Councillor Popke.
When I first signed up for council, I don't know about everybody else, but I totally thought it was volunteer basis. So the fact that we're actually getting paid right now at all is fine with me. I don't believe it's, I think it works out to be another $1,800 or something per year for each councillor. I would be happy to see that money go back myself towards the town someplace. And in terms of the benefit end of it, like Woody Allen says, I plan on living forever. So far, so good. But no, on that note, seriously though, I think it's just, you're trying to attract people. It's not a full-time job. And it's, the way I look at it, it's about giving back to the community, not taking from the community. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Okay. Councillor Popke, thank you. Councillor Tripp.
Thank you. I won't be quite as eloquent, but I do agree with Taylor. I too was surprised about the remuneration because none of us talked about that when we were running, and it's a brand new council. And I'm quite happy with the remuneration as it sits, and would prefer, over the term, the increase is about $42,000 over a 4-year term. And that money could be, starts at 1% or 1 point right now. That could be, into the health hub, it could be into the rec programming, into things that really touch the lives of people in the community. We sit at this table really at the pleasure of the community. The salary is not what's bringing us to it. For benefits, I'm nervous of the benefits in conversations with colleagues who sit in other municipalities when they've used that as a tool to attract. In a couple of cases, they've had individuals run for these offices for the purposes of getting into the benefits. They don't contribute to the table, they don't contribute to council, and then once their need for the benefits terminates, as do they from the table. And it's a very attractive offer, but the wrong draw to bring somebody to the service of the community. So I'm nervous of the benefits and the salary. The personal goal is I'm happy with what it is, but open to the floor. Thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Right now, we've determined that with our asset management plan, we need to put money into reserves and have so much, I forget the percentage, so much a year so that we can cover, fix our roads 10 years, it might be 8 years from now. This is not a good time to be spending money on other things, because we're already having to increase taxes to maintain the current level of service. And that was a study we did, and we involved the community to find out, do you want to pay more taxes and get more stuff? Most said maybe. Most said no. And I'm sure if we put this question on that list of priorities for what you want in the township over the next while, I don't think too many people will be saying, we want to pay the councillors more. So yeah, that's not at this time.
Councillor Levesque.
I like option E, which is to have the remuneration and the benefits retroactive to the beginning of our term. But that's just me. I would agree with all of what's been said. And I think, back to you, I had no idea we got paid for this, but and it's been a wonderful ride. But I don't feel adding to the expenses is what we're about, particularly for the benefits piece. I'm a little on the fence as far as the remuneration is concerned, but it's not a lot of money, so I don't think it's going to matter a whole lot if we add that to the pile. But likely toward that, I would say that we would just status quo as we are into the next term, keeping in mind though that we are making decisions for the next term and the next set of councillors.
Thank you. I'll throw my 2 cents in. I believe that for myself, I have benefits right now, but there are people out there who are younger than us who are doing part-time jobs. I look at Councillor Popke. His isn't a part-time job, it's a full-time job, but it's its own personal business. And we have other younger people out there that are doing social media from home or doing some other type of part-time business, just getting into the world that they're not even thinking about municipal politics because of there's no benefits for them. And so I think having benefits there to attract younger people to actually say, you know what, I'm doing okay with my social media, but I'd still have a lot of time. I'd like to get into the municipal politics, and wow, with benefits, that's really attractive. And there's a lot of people out there that are not able to get benefits because of their working part-time and they're by themselves that have a lot to offer to our township. And I think if we can attract some younger people, I'm not going to be too personal, but when we cancel out the X factor of the youngest on council here, that's Taylor's out, and then the rest of us, oh yes, you too, yes, I was just talking about the male. But we need to attract some younger people and get some ideas, and the fact is we're making a decision not for us. Well, I'm hoping it's going to be for me, I'm hoping I'm going to get back in. But the fact is, I may not get back in, and there's somebody that's sitting there that wants to run against me and says, you know what, I don't want, why would I do it if I don't get the benefits or I can get something else? Like, let's attract somebody. We do a lot of work. We do a lot of reading. We do a lot of traveling. We take a lot of time away from our families. And I think the compensation should be appropriate for that. And for me, the option that I would like to go with would be approve both the remuneration adjustment and the introduction of the benefits. And by doing that, we are going to attract more people and have more people running for this position and putting their ideas forward. So my consideration is option A. Let's make this more attractive for more people to become involved. And I will leave it at that right now. So I guess we have to come to a consensus on how we select an option as preferred. We have Councillor Levesque, you said status quo, correct? Councillor Thompson?
Status quo.
Status quo.
And status quo for Councillor Popke as well? Okay, so I guess that's how we will read the resolution.
I'll reread the resolution, and I will drop the final sentence based off of that one. So that council select option D as the preferred council compensation structure for the 2026 to 2030 term. Actually, I'll proceed with that. Council direct staff to return to council with the necessary bylaw to implement council's decision. This way we can have a bylaw that forms the rate as status quo.
Thank you, and I'll ask for a recorded vote, please, clerk.
Just go by alphabetical order, please.
Pardon me?
Just go by alphabetical order, please.
Well, I have to start because I've asked for the recorded vote. I am opposed.
Lois is in favor?
Jeff?
Yeah, in favor of
Status quo.
status quo.
Councillor Popke?
I'm in favor of status quo.
I'm in favor of status quo.
Councillor Thompson? Or did you already?
I already said in favor of status quo.
Thank you. That's 4 in favor, 1 opposed.
Okay, thank you. It's carried. Okay, we'll now move on to 12.5, municipal grant application, Denby Griffith Lions Club.
The council approved the municipal grant application for the Denby Griffith Lions Club requesting the financial contribution of $1,000 for their annual car show set for August 29th, 2026.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Popke. Background, please.
So on January 20th, 2026, the Township of Greater Madawaska received a municipal grant application from the Denby Griffith Lions Club for their annual car show to be held on August 29th, 2026. The grant application has been attached to the report for your reference. The request is for $1,000 financial contribution to rent a bouncy castle for the day of the event. Staff have reviewed the completed application and can confirm that it meets all the policy eligibility and financial requirements.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from council? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We will now move on to 12.6, municipal grant application, Calabogie Market. Resolution, please.
The council approved the municipal grant application for the 2026 Calabogie Market for the 2026 summer season as follows, including the request of an in-kind service valued at $600, excluding the request to waive the $500 security deposit.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Levesque, second by Councillor Popke. Background, please.
On February 3rd, 2026, we received a municipal grant application for the 2026 Calabogie Market. This group is requesting a waiver of rental fees for the outdoor arena for 4 Saturdays this summer, June 6th, July 4th, August 1st, and September 5th from 10 until 2, with setup starting at 8:30 a.m. The total value of the in-kind service is $600. Staff are recommending approving the fee waiver, but not the $500 security deposit, as it protects the township from potential damage. The application meets all policy requirements. However, because the arena is in higher demand for summer Saturday weddings, if a paid rental arises, the market may need to relocate with proper notice to the organizers.
Thank you. Do I do questions, comments, concerns from council? All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Move on to 12.7, 2025 Statement of Remuneration and Expenses. Resolution, please.
The council approves the 2025 Statement of Remuneration and Expenses paid to members of council and members of local boards and other bodies pursuant to Section 284 of the Municipal Act 2001.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Tripp. Background, please.
So under Section 284 of the Municipal Act, the treasurer is required to provide an annual statement of remuneration and expenses for council members and members of local boards. Today in your agenda, you have attached the 2025 statement that outlines the payments made to members of the council for the 2025 fiscal year.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from council? There are none seen. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 12.8, bylaw 092026, debenture agreement for 2025 capital project Madawaska Road. Resolution, please.
The council approved bylaw 09-2026, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation for a 20-year debenture in the amount of $1,032,314.82, and that council directs the mayor and treasury deputy CAO to sign the agreement.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Popke, second by Councillor Levesque. Background, please.
So as part of the 2025 budget, council approved venture funding to complete the reconstruction of Madawaska Road. The project was partially funded through reserves, with the development charge portion financed through a debenture. The township had previously arranged temporary and long-term financing with the Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation, which also covered fire apparatus purchases, those that have already been converted to a long-term debt. Now that Madawaska Road construction is complete, we are ready to convert the remaining borrowing into a 20-year debenture of $1,032,314.82 at an interest rate of 4.38% with biannual payments. Bylaw 09-2026 will authorize this debenture issuance in accordance with our agreement with Infrastructure Ontario.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from council? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to 13.1, Growing Renfrew County Catholic District School Board, schoolyard canopies with renature. Resolution, please.
Whereas the Township of Greater Madawaska has the following interest in improving our schoolyards by creating outdoor learning spaces and tree canopy environments, and whereas the Renature Foundation is undertaking the Growing Renfrew County Catholic District School Board schoolyard canopies with Renature program, we will be building outdoor learning spaces and planting trees at the elementary schools with the Renfrew County Catholic District School Board. Now be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Greater Madawaska acknowledges and supports the funding opportunity for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Growing Canada's Community Canopies Initiative for the Growing Renfrew County Catholic District School Board School Year Canopies with Renature program, which will be building learning spaces and planting trees at the elementary schools in Renfrew County Catholic District School Board in partnership with the Township of Greater Madawaska. And that council also recognizes that the lifetime contribution from the Growing Canada's Community Canopies initiatives will not exceed $10 million for tree planting within our municipality, inclusive of a maximum contribution of $1 million of infrastructure activity costs, and that if approved, this project will be counted towards that limit.
That was, I still need a mover for that. That was just the resolution. Wow. Okay, so we have a mover, please. Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Poppe. I take it that's the background as well, or are we going to go through the entire supported documentation that we should have all read?
We actually approved, council had approved the district school board a few months back, and now it's the Catholic school board requesting the same approval.
Yeah, and everybody's had a chance to read the documentation that's attached to it? Okay, good. So we will call to the question. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to 14.1, enter into closed session. Resolution, please.
At the council meeting of February 19th, 2026, enter into closed session at 4:51 p.m. pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically Renfrew and Area Health Services Village.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Tripp. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. 4:51. Thank you for your patience. We're out of closed session. We'll now move on to 15.1, move to rise and report. Resolution, please.
That council moves back into open session at 5:26 and reports the following as a result of the closed meeting item. That council directs staff to bring a report for open session discussion at the next meeting regarding the Renfrew and Area Health Services Village.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp, second by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? That is unanimous, so carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to 16.1, bylaw approval. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw 13/2026 confirmatory be deemed read a first, second, and final time and passed by council at the regular council meeting held February 19th, 2026.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Levesque, second by Councillor Popke. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to 17.1, motion to adjourn. Resolution, please.
That the regular council meeting of February 19th, 2026 be adjourned at 5:28 p.m.
Do we have a, mover was Councillor Thompson, just in case somebody missed it. And Councillor Popke almost threw his shoulder out. He is the seconder. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.